I'm going to show you how to glaze your clay piece. So whatever it is, this is a castle, but whatever your clay piece is, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to do a thin, clear coat of this glaze on your whole piece. Do not glaze the bottom. The bottom is the part that touches this surface. So this cannot have glaze on it. Let's pretend that this was part of your piece and it broke off. Maybe it was supposed to go right here and it broke off. You still want to add it to your piece. We cannot add it to your piece until after the final time it's been glazed. What you can do is you can glaze part of it, but see how this can't stand up by itself? So what you can do is you can glaze the part of it that doesn't, like if it's resting like that on the paper, you can glaze the part of it that does not touch the paper. So I could add glaze to this top part of it. I cannot add glaze to the bottom part of it. Otherwise, when I fire it, it will stick to the kiln and I will not be able to take it off. So you can glaze that. Now check when you're done, you can wipe the bottom of it and make sure there's no glaze on it. So again, this is just a base coat of clear glaze you're coating your entire piece with. Now another thing I want to say is it's a lot of times we tend to use brushes as if they're markers. So we want to get in there and scrub like this. That is not how to use a brush. We do very gentle back and forth strokes like this, okay? So if you, anytime you start to see your brush like this or moving around, you're not using your brush correctly. It's important to do soft, gentle back and forth strokes, and you only ever need to dip the tip of your brush. You don't need to dip it way in up here, just the tip of it, and gentle back and forth brush strokes, okay? Cover your entire piece in a thin coat of this glaze. Okay, you can stop it. If you do a thin coat of glaze, it should dry almost instantly, but if you're waiting for it to dry, you can work on a coloring page while it dries. Once it is dry, you can paint it with the colored glaze. So do a thin coat of colored glaze, whatever colors you choose. This is a bright, beautiful, bright blue. Do a thin coat all over your entire piece, choosing all the different colors that you're going to add to your piece. You can stop it. When you're ready to switch colors, take a tissue and your brush, gently pinch your brush in the tissue and windshield wiper it. Then dip it in the water, again pinch and windshield wiper. Do that a couple times, dip it in the water, gently pinch and windshield wiper. Make sure your brush is dry before you go to get more glaze. Okay. Broken off piece, if you have a broken off piece, you can also add glaze to it. But remember, however it rests on the table, that part of it cannot have any glaze. So you can add glaze to this part of it. Now, we cannot attach it until after this glaze gets fired, and then once it comes out of the kiln, then we can glue it wherever we want it. But for right now, it's going to have to get fired in the kiln like this. So again, you have to make sure that this portion of it has no glaze. You got to wipe it off real careful and then leave it like that, okay? And now if I'm done using my purple colors, I'm ready to switch colors. So again, I'm going to pinch, windshield wiper, dip in the water, gently pinch, windshield wiper, dip in the water, and one last time, pinch, windshield wiper. This helps us prevent pouring paint down the drain, so it's really much better for the environment. I'm going to use some of this color. This actually turns out a really cool green. Okay, you can stop it. Once you have painted your entire piece, let it dry. You should do really thin coat of paint, so it should dry very quickly. Once that first coat of paint is dry, go back and paint everything a second time with another layer of thin glaze. So repaint your entire piece. Remember, the glaze has to be dry before you paint on top of it. So do a second coat over all of your colors. make it really thin. Okay, you can stop it. Okay, you can stop it. Can you stop it? Once that second layer is dry, go back and paint everything a third time. This is going to be your final layer. Just do a thin coat. You can stop it. Once you've done your third coat and it's dry enough to pick up, I want you to lift up the bottom and see how these little marks are on here. Take a wet cloth and wipe that off. You need to do that because that glaze will, see on the edges right here, that will actually stick to the surface of the kiln when it gets fired. So it's really important that all this glaze on the bottom, even that light blue glaze, it's really important to carefully wipe all of that off. And if you need to go and rinse your cloth in the sink and give it a second wipe, it can. It helps if your cloth is really wet. It makes it easier to wipe it off. So yeah, if there's just a little color there, it's fine, but make sure you get those edges really good. And then after you do this, put your piece on the board in the center of your table. And then this, if you have a broken off piece, it would go there as well. Then clean up your area. Get a wet cloth and clean up your area. All right, that's it.